Everyone knows George Lucas for his work creating the sci-fi masterpiece Star Wars, but if we rewind to the start of his career, he has another lesser-known science fiction masterpiece called THX-1138. Where Star Wars is a hopeful, adventurous fantasy, THX is a dark, dystopian world that pulls inspiration from some of the greatest dystopian literature, from Brave New World to 1984. In this video, I'm going to go over what makes THX-1138 so special, as well as how each of these books helped create the society depicted in the film. Before talking about what makes the film special, I want to talk about how it came to be. In its earliest form, the world of THX came to life in 1967 as a 15-minute student film before being reworked and expanded into an 80-minute feature film in 1971. The film follows the character THX-1138, played by Robert Duvall, as he goes about life in a dystopian world where every action is supervised and regulated. Everything is computerized, and decisions are made so as to optimize workflow instead of being concerned with the workers. Now that we have an understanding of the world Lucas created, we can talk more specifically about what makes it so special, starting with the aforementioned work. One of the first things you see at the start of the film is THX doing mechanical work on a robot. This is the only work ever shown in the film, and to accomplish these precise actions, workers take medication that suppress their emotions, essentially removing their humanity and turning them into work robots.
If you go back on sedation, you won't feel the same way about me.
I've got a slip movement to install on my next shift. I'll never make it the way I am now.
This plot point is reminiscent of the 1932 dystopian novel Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, in which people are engineered from birth to fulfill their role in society. The workers are prescribed medications that sedate their emotions in order to work more efficiently, destroying individuality for the sake of work product. When THX does eventually stop taking the medication, he's unable to perform his work properly, and he gets mind controlled by his supervisors, unable to control his body while his coworkers evacuate in case of a disaster. This scene reduces THX to simply a machine. There's no desire for human differences or creativity. He is simply only useful as long as he follows exact instructions. These work scenes open the film, setting the tone of the dystopia and directly advance the plot, with THX's work performance leading to him getting punished. As previously mentioned, surveillance plays a big role in THX-1138, both while THX is working and when he attempts to break free from the system. No matter what, he's being watched, data is being recorded, and every action analyzed. This constant surveillance is used to keep workers in line and swiftly bring them to justice when they step out of line. This conformity further helps keep workers dulled and emotionless, with the film going so far as to make the act of being human shameful to the workers. We see this when THX gets off his first shift and enters what looks to be a confessional booth. Here, he talks about his work performance to a computer screen with a face that looks both religious and reminiscent of Big Brother from George Orwell's novel 1984. The Big Brother character in the film is named Ohm and appears multiple times in a confessional setting, but he isn't the only link to 1984. The surveillance goes beyond just being watched and evaluated to acting as law enforcement, with THX eventually being arrested for failing to take his sedation drugs. The plot segment with THX being arrested is very similar to the last third of 1984, where Winston is arrested and imprisoned for crimes against the party. Similar to Room 101 in the novel, THX is thrown into this empty white void upon being arrested, where he's remotely tortured and attacked by security guards. The inclusion of these elements from 1984 creates a cold, technological dystopia. By the end of the film, though, they start to take on a religious meaning in my opinion, and feel similar to Dante's epic poem Inferno. The previously mentioned confessional booth with Ohm does feel like 1984, but taken in the context of the rest of the film, it starts to feel more religious. In the world of THX-1138, it seems that Ohm is a false deity created to distract and dull the workers, and there are two key scenes that point to this. The first is a minor detail when THX is approached before work, and you can see on the wall a message that reads, "Ohm is a hologram," implying that Ohm isn't real. This point is then expanded on towards the end of the film, when a character stumbles upon a behind-the-scenes image of Ohm, with what appears to be recording equipment to broadcast him. Taken together, these three scenes paint a clear image of the world of THX-1138, one where technology and the pursuit of robotic perfection is worshipped like religion, with its prophet being a digital fiction. This semi-religious angle is developed more clearly in the plot of the film, with the journey that THX goes on after being arrested feeling similar to that of Dante in the Inferno. The first place he goes after his arrest is this empty white room, which matches the idea of limbo in Dante's poem. In Dante's description of limbo, the punishment comes from not being able to do or achieve anything, rather than a specific physical punishment, and that aligns with the empty, infinite void that THX is sentenced to. THX and another worker eventually find a way out of the empty room and step into this crowded room where people are endlessly rushing by. This room matches the description of the seventh circle of the Inferno. In Dante's epic poem, the opening of the seventh circle has murderers trapped in a boiling river of blood, just a vast horde of humanity being punished in a long stretch. The room in THX-1138 isn't exactly the same, but it seems to achieve the same purpose. Dante, in this case THX, is seeing the punishment assigned to a group of people, which is made so visually impactful by the size of the crowd and the difficulty of moving through it. The final connection to Dante's poem comes at the end of the film, as THX escapes from his arrest and the guards pursuing him. The final escape sequence sees THX climbing a ladder before finally escaping into the freedom of the above-ground world. Just as Dante traveled further and further down into the Inferno, it logically makes sense that to escape from it you would need to climb up. It's clear to see that THX mirrors the role of Dante's character in the Inferno, giving the audience a view into a terrible dystopian existence before climbing out to freedom. By combining these various elements from literature, George Lucas ends up creating a dystopia that's more complex and feels more real than other film dystopias. As much as THX-1138 creates a unique, terrifying dystopia, it's not the only film to do so. The 1927 silent film Metropolis feels similar to THX-1138, both in the story it tells about workers as well as the way it develops its dystopia. Metropolis similarly portrays its workers as robotic, with one scene showing them moving like clockwork as they arrive to work. Religious imagery is also used in Metropolis, although a bit differently from THX-1138. The first appearance of this is a shot where the machine that everyone is working on morphs into a demon, devouring the workers and shooting steam everywhere. This scene uses the religious imagery to portray to the audience how bad the working conditions are, creating a visual comparison to Dante's description of Inferno. Similar to THX-1138, however, Metropolis introduces a robotic deity similar to Om that serves to distract the workers. In the film, Maria is a popular figure among the workers, and the robotic woman is created to mimic Maria, taking over her place as the leader of the workers. Where THX-1138 presents its false deity as being numbing for the workers, Metropolis takes it further with Robot Maria actively commanding the workers and eventually enraging them to the point of destroying the city of Metropolis. Even though THX-1138 and Metropolis are completely separate films, it's interesting to see how they approach creating a dystopia differently, as well as the ways they create a similar atmosphere. Before Star Wars was made, THX-1138 was George Lucas's first step into creating a compelling sci-fi world, and in my opinion, it's his best. Not just in how it utilizes science fiction, but also the way it pulls from classic literature to create a complex, terrifying dystopia. Drawing from multiple texts like this as opposed to only one serves to make the world feel more real and the surveillance more overbearing, making the final escape sequence incredibly meaningful. THX isn't just escaping from conformity, he's escaping from conformity and constant supervision and false religious figures. If this video was interesting, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to get more videos like these. Thanks for watching.